Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katrina and I'm a mother to 3 little girls with 1 more baby on the way. And today I'm going to share with you my 32-week pregnancy update. So today I'm officially 32 weeks, which is just like totally surreal. It feels like I have been waiting forever, but then it also just feels like time is flying by. And probably that has to do with being a mother to 3 busy little ones. And so I have a lot of distractions in front of me day in and day out. And so when I hit this milestone, I thought I can hardly believe that I've only got approximately 8 more weeks to go. So yeah, it's amazing to be here, and this is my 4th pregnancy. It still feels exciting. It's still something that I absolutely find miraculous and just something that is just amazing to be a part of and be able to experience. On the other hand, it's definitely caused me to slow down. I do feel like I'm pretty tired most days, and any mother will admit that they're tired, I'm sure. And especially I find that 3rd trimester, you just get to a point where it's just, you're really slowing down. You go from sort of the bliss of 2nd trimester and you have all this energy and you feel great and you have this cute little bump and everybody's admiring you for it. And then you go into 3rd trimester and you're just exhausted. I mean, you can tell I'm out of breath even when I'm talking. It's just to a point where there's no capacity. Like, you know, I'll eat a meal and I feel like I'm just filled to the brim. And so that's one thing that I can think of, is that, you know, my eating habits have kind of changed where, you know, I'm just eating more smaller meals now just because I just don't have the room in there. It either gives me heartburn or it's just that I fill up really quickly. So I've been kind of trying to make a lot of smoothies and just sort of having smaller snacks throughout the day when I feel hungry. I just trust my body. If I'm hungry, I eat. If I'm not hungry, then I back off, you know, and it's pretty common sense stuff. I also noticed that my belly button popped. So that means that I've gotten to a point now where, yeah, stomach is big and all that pressure has caused my belly button to pop out. I have normally an innie belly button, so it's always fascinating for me to have an outie when I'm pregnant. And so, yeah, I'm at that stage and the kids love touching it and poking it. And of course it makes me cringe because it's a very sensitive area. I'm sure you understand. Yeah, going back to sort of more the symptoms and things that I'm feeling, mainly, I would say that I feel tired. Definitely, it could be just because this is my 4th pregnancy and that's natural. By 3rd trimester, I'm getting towards the end and things are slowing down. I just, you know, I'm kind of wincing and I bend over and I feel that shooting pain. I feel a lot of round ligament pain now. I can feel like stretching and pulling in my pelvis throughout the day, or usually when I sit down in the evening. So after I put our kids to bed, I just start to feel some pains. I wouldn't say they are Braxton Hicks. I don't seem to get those until, I don't know, towards the end, but I definitely feel a lot of pain and stretching, kind of like cramping, like you'd have period menstrual cramps. And so, you know, I know that things are changing and things are moving along and stretching and growing in there. And so I don't really read into it too deeply, except for the fact that sometimes it's a little uncomfortable. And I guess along the lines of like having cramping and sort of feeling a little bit off, I definitely had some days where I've had some major mood swings. Normally I don't really think of myself as being kind of like a moody hormonal person during my pregnancy. At least, I mean, I probably should just ask my husband. Maybe he would be the truth teller of this, but I attribute a lot of my emotions to, like, maybe, you know, I'll have a bout of crying or whatever, but I don't know. I don't think it's unusual, but I know that a couple days ago, I definitely had a day where I was just down. Like I was almost like in a fog. I couldn't snap out of this mood. My kids, I was home with my kids all day and, you know, they were great. Like they weren't being off or, you know, doing anything that was setting me off emotionally. It was just me. And there was plenty of opportunity for me to get out of the house and go and do something with them, but I couldn't get myself out of this sort of mindset. I was just, I don't know, I just felt kind of sad and sort of tired. I mean, I think the main thing is that I just felt really tired, and sometimes that fatigue just almost takes over and you feel guilty because you want to have like a nap or something, you want to go crawl away in your bed, but you've got responsibility. I wish I could say something like, okay, so then therefore just go to bed earlier, but my little one seems to stay up with us sometimes, and so sometimes I'm just waiting on her and trying to get her into a better routine of going to bed earlier. And so then by the time I get her into bed, then what I do is I fight for my own time. I like to have my downtime, and so I end up staying up late and doing my own thing, whether it's doing crafts, whether it's scrolling Instagram or watching a show or visiting with my husband, having a cup of tea, whatever it is, it's one of those things that like I really value in my day, because it's the one time a day that I can just sort of sit and focus on something that interests me. So my doctor's talked to me about a few different things. He basically has confidence in my ability to bring this fourth child into the world in a hopefully a natural and efficient way. I laugh saying that, because at the end of the day, labor is one of those things that you don't really have total control over. You're gonna see women that come on and say things like, oh, you know, this is what I did to get my labor started, and oh, I did these techniques and stuff. But for me personally, who's done it 3 times now, I just feel like you're kind of along for the ride. Like, of course you can anticipate and you can feel things, and a mother has intuition. She is more connected to her body than we even realize, even if you're going into it the first time. But there's also things that happen. There's complications that happen in pregnancy and labor and delivery that you just can't anticipate. And so even though I have a vision of maybe how this may go, I also look at it as I am completely someone that could end up in an emergency C-section. You know, complications can arise. And so I need to just really accept that and not let it sort of cloud my vision on what I think is going to happen. And so women have asked me in the past, you know, do you have a birth plan? And I really would like to just dismiss that whole idea, because at the end of the day, if you hold these ideas and notions in your head as to how your labor and delivery is going to go, and it actually goes completely opposite, you're going to have some guilt, and you're going to have some worries and stress, and it's not really healthy for the mother. And at the end of the day, you know, you just need to accept that you're doing everything you can to get that child into the world, and your healthcare provider is going to do everything they can to advocate for your life and the baby's life. That's what I kind of take into each of my, you know, experiences. And so will I be looking for some telltale signs coming up in the weeks to come? Probably. Usually I don't go into labor until about 40 weeks. So I feel like I've still got quite a bit of time left to sort of process and think about these things. Now, does that mean that I don't have anxiety about my labor coming up? No, of course I have anxiety. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. It's like, you know, maybe someone that feels anxious about a marathon that they're gonna, you know, participate in coming up. It's one of those things that I don't enjoy being in pain for long periods of time, but at least the end result is hopefully to bring a beautiful, beautiful child into the world safely. And that love and the endorphins that you experience when you hold your child for the first time is unlike anything else I've ever experienced. And so with that in mind, you know, it helps me to sort of dismiss any of those anxious thoughts that I have creeping in. It's sad for me to think that this is going to be my last pregnancy. The last 7 years I've been having kids, and so it's just strange to imagine that I'm not going to be doing this anymore, and it makes me sad. I'm sure I'll have a good cry about it when the day comes, but I also start to feel this sort of anxiousness about looking forward to having my body to myself again, looking forward to just sort of recovery and healing, and yeah, and just sort of being able to be free and to enjoy the children that I have. And hopefully that will help convince me that, you know, we're done and everything is over. And I know my husband's like, we're done, Katrina. So I have to accept that as well. And I do. It's been a total mutual decision, and it's not an easy decision. I know I've talked to a lot of women that, you know, are still wondering about having another. And I mean, my best advice is that if you're one of those people, don't shut the door if your heart is open to another. I know for us, we were starting to close that chapter with our third, but we did keep the door open for a reason. And here we are. And now, you know, I've totally, not that I know what it's like to raise 4 kids, but I've totally accepted the idea of having a 4th little person around. And I just feel like this 4th person is, well, they're meant to be, but also like, you know, they're going to add something new to this family. And, you know, our love just keeps growing and growing. And that's, to me, is just so special and so fortunate. And so it's one of those things that, you know, you don't ever want to close the chapter on if your heart is really, really pushing you. So at my doctor's appointment today, he also asked me about sweeps, and he was saying, do I normally do those on you, or have I done those to you in the past? And yes, he definitely has. My doctor takes kind of a more maybe a natural approach, if I want to call it that. So the thing about sweeps is that if you've never had one before, essentially it's when your doctor kind of manually puts his fingers up into your cervix and does kind of like a little manipulation massage. And I guess that's to sort of trigger to trigger some hormones inside you to release, and that therefore will indicate to your body that you need to start thinking about labor. Now, apparently there's medical backing on this. I'm about 1 foot in, 1 foot out on whether I think this actually works. With my first pregnancy, I got a sweep and it didn't work the first time. He did it again, and I can't remember if it worked the second time. And so when I say worked, basically after going through this uncomfortable exam where he does this, you go home and then, you know, usually cramping starts within 24 to 48 hours, and then that leads on to labor. And so, you know, it definitely, there seems to be a correlation. I know that with my last pregnancy, he thought, you know, third baby, she could be coming a little sooner, why don't we try this? But then when he checked all the things down there, I was showing no signs of really being ready for labor yet. I can't remember all the words he used, you know, effaced, or you're soft, you're open. I wasn't dilated at all. And so when he did it to me, it ended up just making me feel really cranky, really miserable. And I went home and I was just like a wreck, and nothing happened after that. And so another week went by, and I remember coming in feeling kind of angry with my doctor, like, how could you do this to me? Like, you know, because I think it kind of builds your brain to think that something's going to happen, and then when nothing happens and you go through this process that's so uncomfortable for no reason, it kind of makes you a little bit ornery. But then I went back and I ended up grudgingly getting another one because I was just so tired and so done with being pregnant that I was sort of open-minded to him trying his technique again. And he gave me a second sweep, and then I went into labor about 24 hours later. So, you know, does that mean that what he did triggered it? Probably not. I mean, I'm sure my body was just there and just ready to go, but it's one of those things where I find it interesting, you know, is there a correlation, is there not? Have you guys had a sweep before? Have you heard them? Is it something that your doctor offers you? I've heard mixed reviews. So anyway, that's been my experience. And this time around, I think what I'll do is I may hesitate and wait. And then if I start to really feel impatient and I'm really, you know, at the end waiting to kick the bucket, I might say, okay, fine, you know, give me the sweep or whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting part of the journey. I was just thinking about sort of the weird symptoms that people might have, and you know, I wouldn't say that I have anything too unusual, but one thing that I do find that is recurrent in my pregnancies is stuffy nose, for one thing. So as soon as I go to lay down, I can just feel my nose start to close up, and it's really, really annoying. And the other thing is heartburn, which I think I mentioned in my last video, but it just continues and it seems to get a little bit worse in the third trimester. And so those are two things that I know that, you know, once baby's born, I'm so happy because suddenly I can breathe fully again. You know, I can smell really clearly, and I can eat a meal without getting heartburn. It's like the best, you know, to be living on Tums daily, and then to go from that to just being able to eat a full meal, eat something spicy, eat something that has like, you know, a good sauce or flavoring, and not feel that heartburn is like the biggest relief. It's like, so that's one thing that I always look forward to, is that feeling, you know. And even something like a cup of coffee, you know, I will drink a cup of decaf, and then like an hour later I have heartburn. It's just like so aggravating. But I can always remember that one thing I really look forward to in the hospital, and this is so strange because I'm kind of a coffee snob, I must say. Like, there's certain types of coffee that I buy. I really pursue our local coffee shops that have really good brews over sort of the mainstream coffee places out there. And I will fully admit that one thing I love is getting that first cup of coffee after you have a baby in the hospital. I know it's weird and the coffee is horrific, it's not great, but for some reason, when I get served that cup of coffee and my breakfast or whatever, my first meal, it's like the biggest reward. I think it's because it starts to sink in your brain that I'm at the hospital now because I've had my baby. Baby is born. they're sleeping peacefully, and now I get to just eat a meal and nourish my body and be proud of the fact that I did it. So it's kind of like a strange reward situation for me, and it's something that I absolutely look forward to, and I'm already thinking about it. It's weird, and I guess it's just because that's been my experience in the past, and so I use that as motivation whenever I get sort of anxious thinking about, you know, the big day. I just think, okay, Katrina, you know, look at the things that you get to look forward to. You're gonna have your lung capacity back, you're gonna be able to breathe better, no more heartburn, morning cup of cowboy coffee. It's going to be awesome. Some other things that I've been doing to sort of keep my brain busy, and besides sort of the ongoing saga of us updating and renovating our house, the other thing that I've started to look at online is obviously buying cute little baby things. I don't try to buy too many things because I usually just like to wait till I have the baby and get to know them and what size are they and what do they look like. But I've allowed myself to purchase a few little things that are coming in the mail, which I will share with you guys, and I'm excited for. And then I've also started to look at, because right now I've got basically another 2 months, so I'm kind of out of the phase of looking at maternity clothes. Like I just, you know, living in tank tops, tights, you know, things that are comfortable, like cardigans. Like, you don't need much, you know. I honestly feel like most of the stuff I've been able to grab at like our local Walmart, or, you know, I've ordered online through places like Old Navy Maternity or H&M Maternity are great. They usually have some cheaper, cute options there. But now I'm kind of starting to think way more into postpartum, you know, being comfortable wearing clothing that I can nurse in comfortably, and that just makes me feel not, you know, upset, because after you have a baby, you have quite a little tummy that you have to contend with for a while. And so I like to wear things that are just a little bit more loose, and mainly I just focus on comfort with breastfeeding. And so if everything goes all right, I'm gonna nurse this fourth baby like I have with my last kids. And so I'm looking at all kinds of things like, you know, what can I breastfeed in? What's comfortable? You know, maybe I might get myself some new nursing bras, or just like maybe some nice blouses. And I think it's important for women to maybe treat themselves this way. Like, you've been through a lot, and sometimes it's really hard to accept our postpartum body after we have a baby. I know for myself, I always go through sort of a mental, emotional battle with my body and what it's been through and how it looks after the fact. And so I try to reward myself with maybe a few pieces of clothing that make me feel good, you know, something that's got a high waist that can kind of tuck my tummy in and make it feel secured, and just, you know, give me a better sense of self. That's one thing that I definitely will be talking about more in future videos, is sort of the transition of going from, you know, beautiful, miraculous pregnant body to beautiful, miraculous postpartum body, and how do we deal with that. And I mean, honestly, if you're pregnant like myself right now, we would be going through the journey together, because it's the same thing for me every time. I have to relearn how to really love and accept my own body, and it would be nice to do it with a community of people out there. So definitely I'll be talking more about that, and I'll show you some things that I'll be getting myself that, you know, will hopefully make me feel better and sort of prepare me for that postpartum period. So I guess I'll share with you guys my baby bump, and that's about it, guys. I think I've sort of spilled the beans on everything and probably talked way too long, but yeah, I'll give you guys a little peek at what the belly's looking like these days. So here she is, my belly, not the baby. And you can see, oh boy, you can see that belly button that I was talking about, of course. And I'll give you a little peek at the bump. Still not many stretch marks. I'm one of those people that I don't tend to get a lot of stretch marks. Now, I definitely don't want to jinx that, but I know I got a pretty mean one towards the end of my third pregnancy. It was like just below my belly button, and all of a sudden, boom, you know, I was probably hit at the 39-week mark, and there it was, this beautiful little stretch mark that I found. But normally I've been pretty fortunate to not have to get a lot of those stretch marks on my tummy, but that doesn't mean I don't have them other places. And of course, you know, my stomach at one time was really flat, and now it's not, and it won't be postpartum either. So don't feel alone in that. I will definitely be candid and share with you guys what it's like to have a postpartum body. I'm not one of those women that bounce back and just lose all the weight from breastfeeding. I'm definitely one of those women that just, it's a slow slow drop, and it usually has to do with the fact whether I'm moving my body or not. You know, am I gonna be exercising like crazy to get it back? No. I'm gonna give myself time to heal and really focus and prioritize my kids at this stage in life? Probably. I hope one day I can get back to a stage where I can go outside and comfortably run, and because it makes me feel good, and it's something that I did enjoy in the past. And so yeah, it's one of those things, ladies, don't be hard on yourself, even through pregnancy. You know, don't let the number on the scale scare you. That's about it. I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for hanging out with me in my playroom. This is where I had to film today because I have children in every other room upstairs. I even have a rock polisher in the room next door to me, and if I tried to film in there, you probably wouldn't even hear me. Please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, you guys. I really appreciate those that are here and watching, and stay tuned for the next one. Bye for now.